Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Concord and Ninth. Thanks for joining me today. A Concord and Ninth release never feels quite complete without a Turnabout stamp, and I have a brand new one to share with you. This is the Happy Rays Turnabout stamp set and coordinating die set, and I think it is so appropriately named because this Happy Rays set will make the happiest cards for you to give, and it's great for so many occasions. Now, as with all Turnabout stamps, it will come with the alignment guide, so be sure to hang on to that. Now, these rays are the actual Turnabout, so all of the additional imagery that you're seeing are additional sentiments and accent pieces that will create the happiest of cards. And I love the adorable faces and the cheeks along the bottom, and there's so many ways that you can use these stamps together or on their own. Now, the coordinating die set includes circles that cut out all of these various circles and a couple of dies that coordinate with the sunshine and hugs sentiments. There's also some great hearts, but let's have a look at this die in action because it is so cool. It creates this really cool knockout effect. So it doesn't actually cut out a shape. It only knocks out those little circles and creates that stitched ray pattern on your card front. And this is so much fun to die cut from your card front and then layer a piece of metallic or glitter cardstock behind it. Here is a look at the stamps and dies together in action. You can see I have used the various circles to die cut the faces and the sentiments. And then I always love me a good die cut stamp sentiment. There's nothing like it. This is also a die which includes the face and the little cheeks, and I've just backed that with a little bit of glitter cardstock to make it shine. There are so many fun options in this stamp and die set. So let's have a look at the Turnabout stamp in action, and I am using my Concord and Ninth all-in-one Turnabout jig to stamp this Happy Rays Turnabout stamp. Now, keep in mind you can use a square piece of cardstock or you can use an A2 size piece of cardstock. Either one will work. And I'm positioning this A2 size card, which measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, onto my all-in-one Turnabout jig. And there are some marks on there which help me perfectly align my A2 size cardstock onto my jig. Now I'm starting with the number 1 in the upper right-hand corner of my Turnabout jig, and I'm inking up my stamp using Stardust ink first. I'm going to close the lid of my MISTI right over my Turnabout jig and my cardstock. Don't worry about the ink that's getting on the Turnabout jig. Once you're done stamping, you can just run that under some water and it rinses right off. So now that I've stamped my first impression, I'm going to rotate my Turnabout jig to where the number 2 is in the upper right-hand corner. I've cleaned my stamp and now I'm inking up my stamp with grapefruit ink. And once I have that inked up, I'll go ahead and close the lid of my MISTI again, making sure that each time I stamp that my alignment guide is securely nestled in that lower right-hand corner. So I have my second color stamped. Now I'm going to rotate my jig again, where my number 3 is in the upper right-hand corner. I've cleaned my stamp, and now I'm inking up my stamp with Concord and Ninth Peacock ink. I'm creating a really fun color palette here that I absolutely love, but keep in mind you can use 1, 2, 3, or 4 different colors to create your Turnabout design. Once I have that inked up, I'll close the lid of my MISTI, once again, keeping that jig nestled into the lower right-hand corner of my MISTI stamping tool. And then I am going to rotate my jig one last time to where the number 4 is in the upper right-hand corner. I'll clean my stamp, and this time I am going to ink up my stamp using Ballet Slipper ink from Concord and Ninth. Now, once I get this final color stamped, I will have my complete pattern here. You can see all of these happy, colorful rays, and you can imagine that all of the different color palettes that you create will change up the look of this stamp. Now, to remove my cardstock from the jig, I like to bend the jig away from the cardstock to keep my cardstock from curling, and you can see the fun pattern I've created here. Now let's look at the variety of different colors in action. So here is the one we just created. But if you stamp this stamp 4 times in the same color, this is what it looks like. I've used grapefruit ink here. Or this is a 4-color stamping of the Turnabout here. So I've used honeysuckle, buttercup, sea glass, and grapefruit on that. And finally, this is a look at that stamp stamped in just 2 colors. So I've used the buttercup and the grapefruit for that. So you can see how this pattern really changes based on the colors that you use. Now, I've created a few cards to share with you today featuring the Happy Rays stamps and coordinating die set. I have done all stamping on this card here. I've used that sunshine and stamped it a few times, repeated in different colors on the card front. And then I just added a couple of the accent pieces and that curved thoughts below it. I think that is just a fun and simple card that can be recreated over and over again. Now here I've stamped the Turnabout stamp in 3 different colors, and I've cut that pattern in half so that it doesn't cover my full card. And I've used Stardust twice, grapefruit and peacock to stamp that. I used the So Nice circle sentiment there, and I filled it in using the words there. So you can use that circle on its own or fill it in with the little word stamp there. And I added just a band of gold cardstock and matted that circle sentiment with some gold cardstock as well. Now this one might be my favorite. I stamped the Turnabout stamp and used some white glitter embossing powder to create my rays. And then I just ink blended with ballet slipper and grapefruit ink over that embossed pattern. Then I used that little knockout ray die to create that pattern on my card front, and I backed it with some matte gold cardstock from Concord and Ninth. I stamped an ombre sentiment, added a little gold embossing to the bottom, and popped that up in the center. And it's amazing how the color palette really changes the look of this stamp set. So there's an in-depth look at the Happy Rays Turnabout stamp set and coordinating dies. These products create the happiest of cards with endless options.